Welcome to Sexy Tale Friday, a Valentine's episode of Helen of Troy. Once upon a time, in the land of Troy, there was a beautiful girl named Helen. Actually, the word beautiful can't even describe her. She was hot. But since it was in Greek, the translation of hot was a little rough. But basically, it meant that undeniable foxy lady who made all the guys lose their shits. Helen's dad was this pretty famous guy named Zeus. He was kind of the most powerful god in the whole world. One who could shoot lightning from the sky and kill a man just because he felt like it. So despite her good looks, Helen was labeled as undateable by most of the guys in the area who simply didn't want to lose their heads. Literally. So Helen had no one to talk to. Her dad was too busy with work as terrorizer of the world to pay attention to her, and all the women hated her too. What no one knew was that Helen was actually a raging Pokemon fan. She would play on her DS all day, every day, trying to train her not fully evolved Pokemon so that her team would be unbeatable. Sometimes she would imagine she actually had a real Pokemon and would talk to them. "Pikachu, what do you think about that attack move?" she would ask the blank space next to her. Oh, Pika, you're the best friend a girl could have. Let's face it, Helen really needed some social interaction. One day, Zeus decided it was about time to get Helen a husband, and fast, so he invited all the kings and princes of the land to ask for her hand. After seeing thousands of men lined up in front of his house, Zeus just groaned, "Ugh, this is gonna take forever." So he picked someone at random. "Number 31, would you want to marry my daughter?" Agamemnon, number 31, was already married, but was there to represent his kid brother Menelaus. Menelaus couldn't be bothered to do anything but go to the gym, bulk up, and then try and get in fights with people. Agamemnon thought that maybe if he could get his brother a lady friend, he would stop being so much of a douche. He told this to Zeus. Zeus thought for a moment. My daughter marry a dick who didn't even bother to show up. Why not? Maybe they'll balance each other out. And with that logic, Menelaus and Helen were married. Helen was really excited at first, until she met him. Menelaus would have been impressed with Helen's looks if he ever bothered to look at anything but his own reflection. Their house was covered in mirrors, and Menelaus would spend all his time lifting weights, grunting, and drinking protein shakes while checking himself out. Helen was still really lonely, so she spent all her time wandering around, dreaming of her Pokemon world. Then, a few months later, as she was picking out cabbages at a market, she heard the familiar sound of a Nintendo DS turning on. Looking around, she saw some guy deeply concentrating on the game in front of him as he knocked over a cart full of peaches. She snuck around him to see what game he was playing, and her heart almost stopped. It was Pokemon! She couldn't contain her excitement. "Use Bolt Beam!" she screamed. The guy did what she said and won instantly. Stunned, he looked up at her. Paris and Helen met each other's eyes and felt as if something inside them was complete. Helen could see that he was the only Pokemaster in the world for her, and that together, they would catch them all. Paris realized she was the most beautiful girl in the world, and that she was looking at him like she really liked him. Being a Pokemon nerd, this rarely happened to him, so he was stoked. And so, they ran off together into the sunset, leaving behind the cabbages and the peaches, and ready to start their life with imaginary battles and annoying little animals that could only say their own name. And they would have lived happily ever after, too, if she wasn't still married to Menelaus. So then this long war happens, called the Trojan War, where everybody dies, including Menelaus and Paris, and after all of it, Helen has to marry this guy named Deiphobus, who's actually the worst, because he keeps blaming the entire war on her, since basically it's her fault. Blah, 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 and also the end. Come back next time for the story of Romeo and Juliet, also known as When Parents Interfere.
So why are you two in Iceland?
Getting our groove back.
Mitch thought I needed cheering up.
Back in the groove.
You know, we're the oldest people in here.
What?
Americans! We need to light up these glow sticks.
What's a glow stick?
Boy, it feels great to be out of the city, huh?
Into the wild.
You sure this would be better with, like, us not here and...
Believe me, you guys made the shot. Just keep relaxing.